Welcome to the YouTube channel, Mr. Rafa Online Tuitions. So please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Mr. Rafa Online Tuitions. And also click on the notification button so that whenever I upload the video of this nature, you'll be able to watch and learn. We are here to crack down the codes of chemistry, science paper 2, 2024 GCE final exam. Section A. Question 1. Which branch of chemistry would a grade 12 learner intending to become a pharmacist study? Option A, analytical chemistry. Option B, biochemistry. Option C, organic chemistry. And option D, physical chemistry. So the first thing that you need to do, you need to understand what is analytical chemistry, what is biochemistry, what is organic chemistry, what is physical chemistry. So I'll help you to define these branches of chemistry that we've been given before we go to the answer. So analytical chemistry, it is the branch of chemistry that deals with a study and measurement of chemicals in a sample. Option B, what is biochemistry? Biochemistry, it is the study of chemical reactions and energy changes in the body of a living organism. Option C, organic chemistry. Organic chemistry, it is a study of carbon compounds. Option D, physical chemistry. Physical chemistry, it is a study of physical characteristics of a material. So we go back to the question, which branch of chemistry would a grade 12 learner intending to become a pharmacist study? So the answer is C, organic chemistry. Let us defend our answer. So why is organic chemistry? The reason is very simple. Organic chemistry, it focuses on understanding the structure, properties, and reactions of organic molecules that form the basis of drugs. So that is the reason why organic chemistry is the answer. Question 2. Which of the following shows the correct basic unity of matter contained in the stated substances? So this side, we have a substance, and this side we have basic unity. So option A, boron. Its basic unity, ions. Option B, mercury. Its basic unity, molecules. Option C, methane. Its basic unity, atoms. Option D, neon. Basic unit of matter, atoms. Now, when you look at boron, boron is an element. So what is an element? An element is a substance that is made up of only one type of an atom. So boron, the basic unit for boron is atom. So first of all, we need to understand what is an ion. An ion, it is a charged particle or group of atoms. That is what we call an ion. So boron, it is not charged. Why? Because it is an element. Part B, mercury. Mercury, the basic unit of matter, molecules. So mercury, it is an element which is made up of atoms. So the basic unit of matter of mercury is atom. We need to understand what is a molecule. A molecule, it is a particle formed by the combination of two or more atoms chemically. So that is what we call a molecule. So a molecule, it is the particle formed by the combination of two or more atoms chemically. And so now when you look at mercury, mercury, it's not the combination of two or more atoms. Option C, methane. So methane, it is a combination of carbon and hydrogen atoms. So methane, its basic unit of matter is not atoms. So methane, its basic unit, it is a molecule. Why? Because it is made of carbon and hydrogen. Option D. So here the answer is D, neon. So neon, it is an element which is made up of atoms. So the basic unity of neon, it is atoms. So the answer is D. Number 3. The following diagrams show volumetric apparatus. Which apparatus measures only approximate volumes of liquid? So we have option A. Option A, this apparatus, it is burette. So burette, it is the most accurate instrument that we use to measure the volumes of liquid. It measures a volume of liquids between 1 ml and 50 mils. Option B, it is a measuring cylinder. Option C, it is a pipette. Option D, it is volumetric flask. So now look at option C, which is a pipette. A pipette, it is an apparatus that is used to measure a fixed volume of liquids. Fixed volumes of liquid. It only measures 25 mils of liquids. It cannot measure 23, it cannot measure 22, it cannot measure 28. It only measures the fixed volume of liquids, which is 25 mils. Then we have the volumetric flask. The volumetric flask, we mainly use it to mix solutions. Mix solutions. So it comes with a stopper which prevents the spilling of the mixing solution. So there the answer is B. So why B? The reason is very simple. Measuring cylinder, it is an apparatus that is used to measure only approximate volumes of liquid because it comes in different sizes. Question 4. which mixture can be separated into its components by adding water, stirring, and filtering. Option A, iron and sodium chloride. Option B, iron and sulfur. Option C, potassium carbonate and calcium nitrate. Option D, sodium chloride and copper 2 sulfate. So there, the answer is sodium chloride and copper 2 sulfate. So now let us defend our answer. Why sodium chloride and copper 2 sulfate? So sodium chloride and copper 2 sulfate are both ionic compounds. So when water is added and is stirred, sodium chloride will dissolve in high solubility. Then copper 2 sulfate, on the other hand, is also soluble in water, but forms a blue solution. So in this case, copper 2 sulfate can be separated from the liquid solution containing what? Dissolved copper 2 sulfate. So that is the reason. Question 5. An atom of element R has the electronic configuration 2, 8, 3. Which of the following statements about element R is correct? Option A, forms an ion of charge 3 to the power negative. Option B, forms an ion with the electronic structure of neon. Option C, is a non-metal. Option D, reacts with metals. The first thing that we have to do, we have to identify this element R. So element R, it is an element which is in group 3. So why are we saying it is coming from group 3? It has 3 electrons in its outermost shell. So it is coming from group 3 and it is coming from period 1, 2, 3. So the number of shells, it tells us the period where it is coming from. So this element, it is coming from group 3, period 3. So the element, when I look on the periodic table, the element which is coming from group 3, so this is group 3, period 1, 2, 3. So it is aluminium. So this is aluminium. So now let us look at the options. It forms an ion of charge 3 to the power negative. So remember that a metal does not form a negative charge. It forms a positive charge. So option A is not the answer because of this negative. A metal forms a positive charge. Option C is a non-metal. Aluminium is a metal. So this is not the answer. Option D reacts with metals. So aluminium does not react with ferrometals. So in this case, E ni boza. This is not the answer. So now the answer is option B. It forms an ion with the electronic structure of neon. Let us defend our answer. So aluminium, it forms an ion with the electronic structure of neon. So what does it mean when we say that it forms an ion? A metal forms an ion when it loses the outermost electrons. So a metal forms an ion when it loses the outermost electron or electrons. So in this case, aluminium, it will lose 3 electrons to form an ion. So the electronic configuration of aluminium ion, it is 2 to 8. So 2 to 8, it is the electronic structure of neon. Let us look at neon. So neon, 20 there, 10 there. So this is neon. So let us write the electronic configuration of neon. So the first shell, it has 2 electrons. So then the last shell, it has 80 electrons, which is the ion of aluminium. So that is the answer for question B. It forms an ion with a electronic structure of neon. I hope you are enjoying, so please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel Mr. Rafa Online Tuitions. Question 6. Identify the diagram in which a pure element is in solid state. So we need to understand what is a pure element or a pure substance. So a pure substance or a pure element, it is the substance that contains only one kind of the material. So that is what we call a pure substance or a pure element. So now let's check the options that we have. We have option A, option B, option C, and option D. Now you need to pay attention in a solid state. So these two, they are not in a solid state. So C and D are in a solid state. But as for option D, it is a mixture. This is a mixture. So why are we saying that it's a mixture? It contains two kinds of the material, the shaded material and the open circle material. So these are different kinds. So this is a mixture. But for option C, it contains only one kind of the material. So the answer is C. Question 7. Which of the following pairs of compounds would react together to form an insoluble salt? Option A, we have calcium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid. So remember that calcium does not form an insoluble salt. Option B, sulfuric acid and sodium hydroxide. So sodium does not form an insoluble salt. Option C, sodium sulfate and lead 2 nitrate. Option D, zinc chloride and sodium nitrate. So sodium and zinc, they do not form the insoluble salt. So the answer is C. So now an insoluble salt can be prepared by using precipitation method. So in this case, we need to use the 2 soluble salts to give us an insoluble salt and a soluble salt. So in this case, we'll say soluble salt plus soluble salt. We are going to have an insoluble salt plus soluble salt. So in this case, we have sodium sulfate, which is a soluble salt, plus lead 2 nitrate, which is a soluble salt. We are going to have an insoluble salt, which is lead 2 sulfate, which is an insoluble salt, plus sodium nitrate, which is a soluble salt. So this is an insoluble salt. So this method, we call it precipitation method. Question 8. A given sample solution was tested for the presence of an anion using dilute hydrochloric acid. Effervescence was observed. Predict an anion present in the sample solution given. Option A, carbonate ion. Option B, chloride ion. Option C, nitrate ion. Option D, sulfate ion. So for you to answer this question correctly, you need to be acquainted with the qualitative analysis sheet. So I have the qualitative analysis sheet. So this is the qualitative analysis sheet. So test for anions. So we have the first one, carbonate. How do we test it? So we add dilute acid in the solution. Then the test result, effervescence is observed and carbon dioxide gas is produced. I hope before we even go further, you can even know the answer. Now, what about chloride ion in solution? So the test, acidify with dilute nitric acid, then add aqueous silver nitrate. Then the test result is white PPT. Then when we are testing for nitrate ion in solution, add aqueous sodium hydroxide, then aluminium foil, carefully. So the test result, it is ammonia. So ammonia gas is produced. Then when you are testing for sulfate ion, so sulfate ion in solution, acidify with dilute nitric acid, then add aqueous barium nitrate. So white PPT is formed. So there our answer is carbonate ion. But again, before we go further, you should understand what is effervescence. Effervescence, it is the formation of gas bubbles in a liquid by a chemical reaction. That is what we call effervescence. And question 9, calculate the relative formula mass of ammonium phosphate. Calculate the relative formula mass of ammonium phosphate. So we have ammonium phosphate. So the first thing that you are going to do, you are going to check the relative atomic mass of each element given in a compound. So in this case, we've got oxygen. So oxygen, we have 4 atoms of oxygen. So 4 times the relative atomic mass of oxygen, it is 16. So the atomic mass of oxygen is 16. So this is oxygen. So this is the atomic mass. Then we have phosphorus. We have 1 atom of phosphorus times the relative atomic mass of phosphorus, it is 31. Then in this case, we have 4 times 3. So we have 12 atoms of hydrogen. The relative atomic mass of hydrogen is 1. Then in this case, we have 3 times 1, which is 3. So we have 3 atoms of nitrogen. The relative atomic mass of nitrogen is 14. So 4 times 16, 64. 1 times 31, 31. 12 times 1, 12. 3 times 14, we are going to have 42. Then you add. So 64 plus 31 plus 12 plus 42, it is 149. So the answer is D. Question 10. Limestone decomposes to calcium oxide and carbon dioxide when strongly heated. Given that 500 grams of limestone was decomposed, Calculate the mass of calcium oxide. So the first thing, you need to write a balanced chemical equation. So calcium carbonate, which is the limestone, it is decomposed to calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Then number 2, you are going to balance the equation. Balance the equation. So from the look of things, this is a self-balanced equation. So we have 1 calcium atom, 1 calcium, 1 carbon, 3 oxygen, 1 plus 2, it is 3. So it is self-balanced. From there now, identify what is the demand of the question. So the demand of the question is calculate the mass of calcium oxide. So calcium oxide. So I'm going to put X below calcium oxide. Then what have we been given? We have been given 500 grams of limestone. So I'll put 500 grams to help me find the mass of calcium oxide. So 500 grams. So from there, we are going to calculate the total molar mass of the concerned compounds. So we have calcium. We have calcium carbonate. So we have 3 oxygen atoms. So 3 times 16, it is 48. We have carbon, it is 1 times 12, it is 12. We have calcium, it is 1 times 40, which is 40. So when we add, we are going to have 100. So this is the total molar mass. In other words, that is the relative formula mass of calcium carbonate. So we have 100 grams. Then I also find the relative formula mass of calcium oxide. So we have 1 times 16 is 16. 1 times 40 it is 40. When we add, we are going to have 56. So that is 56. So from there now, you can cross multiply. So there where we say 100 times x, it is 100x. So 500 times 56. So there you just have to divide throughout with 100, throughout with 100, 100 and 100 goes. So x is equal to 100 there, it's 1, 100 there, it's 5. So 5 times 56, we are going to have 280 grams. So the answer is C. Question 11. The following graph was obtained when powdered calcium carbonate was equal volume and mass was reacted with hydrochloric acid of different concentrations. So we have 4 graphs: graph A, graph B, graph C, graph D. Identify the graph which represents the reaction between powdered calcium carbonate and hydrochloric acid of the highest concentration. So that simply means that these 4 graphs, they are different concentrations. So now here the answer is A. So A is the answer. Let us defend our answer. So powdered calcium carbonate, it is creating the large surface area for the reaction. Then hydrochloric acid, it has the highest concentration in this case. So highest concentration, the higher the concentration, the faster the rate of reaction. So how did we know that graph A, it is showing the fastest reaction? So remember that the steeper the gradient, so graph A, it is steeper. In other words, it is closer to the y-axis than these three graphs. Question 12. How does a catalyst increase the rate of a chemical reaction? It does this by option A, increasing activation energy. Option B, lowering activation energy. Option C, lowering the kinetic energy of the reacting particles. Option D, reducing the frequency of corrosion of the particles. So there the answer is B, lowering activation energy. Activation energy, it is the minimum energy required to start a chemical reaction. So that is called activation energy. So activation energy, it's the minimum energy required to start a chemical reaction. So for every reaction to start, it needs energy. So if this energy is reduced, it simply means that more reactants can cross the energy barrier easily and react. So that will lessen the energy required for a successive what? Collision. Hence, the rate of reaction will increase. So that is our defense for the answer. Question 13. Identify the correct electronic configuration of an element used to treat water. So we treat water in our homes or at the waterworks by using chlorine. So remember, chlorine, we have 35.5, 17 there. So the demand is a correct electronic configuration. So the electronic configuration, so the first shell, it has 2 electrons, second 8, 2 plus 8, 10. 17 minus 10, we have 7 electrons in the outermost shell. So the answer is C. So let me go further a little bit and explain something which is cardinal here. In case they said that identify the correct ionic electronic configuration, they said correct ionic configuration of an element used to treat water. So remember that a nanometal forms an ion when it gains electron or electrons. Then it becomes an ion. So now when chlorine gains, it will gain 1 electron in its outermost shell. So 7 plus 1, we are going to have 8. So this is an ionic chlorine. Question 14. The following diagrams show different experimental setups used to investigate the conditions necessary for corrosion of ion metal to occur. So we have experimental A. So we have a layer of oil, previous boiled water, iron nail, boiling tube. Option B, boiling tube, iron nail, water. Option C, boiling tube, iron nail, salt water. Option D, nail iron, boiling tube, dry cotton wool. So there, let us look at option A. So for corrosion of iron metal to occur, in other words, for rusting to occur, there are 2 conditions that are necessary. The 2 conditions are oxygen and moisture. So these are the 2 conditions that are necessary for corrosion of iron metal to occur. So option A, it does not have air in it or oxygen. Oxygen is lacking here. So this layer of oil, which is here, it is preventing the entry or exit of air. It is preventing the entry or the exit of air, which is oxygen. So we don't have oxygen there. Then previously boiled water. So boiled water, all the air, which is oxygen, was evaporated through boiling. All the air was evaporated through what? Boiling. So in here, we don't have oxygen. So corrosion will not take place there. Then for option B, we have the two necessary conditions. Oxygen we have, it is open here, so oxygen is coming in. So we have oxygen and we have water, which is moisture. So in here, rusting will occur. Then option C, we have iron nail and we have salt water. So remember that salt water, it accelerates the rusting process. It accelerates the rusting process. So in this case, this is the answer. So in here, rusting will take place, in here, rusting will take place. But the question is, predict the experimental setup in which iron nail will corrode the fastest. So the fastest, it is here. Even here it will take place, but the fastest, it is here. So let us defend our answer. So now, salt water here increases the presence of dissolved ions. In other words, it has ions. So these ions, they allow electrons to move faster, speeding up the formation of what? Rust. So that is the reason why C is the answer. So salt water increases the presence of dissolved ions. So these ions, they allow electrons to move faster on the metal, speeding up the formation of rust. Question 15. In which of the following pair of reactants will a displacement reaction takes place? So remember that a displacement reaction is a reaction in which a more reactive element will take a place of a less reactive element in a compound of salt. So in this case, we've got, let us first of all identify the metals that we have according to their reactivity series. So in this case, we have aluminium, nitrate, and magnesium. We have copper 2 sulfate and silver, magnesium sulfate and copper, zinc sulfate and iron. So now let us look at the reactivity series. So from here, we have magnesium, which is the most reactive element. Then followed by aluminium, followed by zinc, followed by iron, followed by copper. Then the last one, it is silver. So let us look at option D. Zinc is more reactive than iron. So iron cannot take a place of zinc. Uyumu aichetet emi ababakalamu bapachipuna. So displacement here cannot take place. Magnesium sulfate and copper. Copper is less reactive. So copper cannot take the place of magnesium. So displacement cannot take place here. Silver is less reactive than copper. So silver cannot take the place of copper. Silver tetafumyepo ababakalamu bapachipuna. So here displacement cannot take place. Magnesium is more reactive than aluminium. So magnesium will take the place of aluminium. So the answer is A. So we can even write this reaction. So that is displacement reaction. So magnesium has taken the place of aluminium. Question 16. The diagram shows the correction of a gas T during its production. So we have gas T, we have the gas jar, we have the delivery tube. So what interpretation can be drawn from the method of correction of the gas? Option A has a density equal to that of air. Option B, it is denser than air. Option C, it is less denser than air. Option D is slightly soluble in water. First of all, let us understand what type of correction is this one. So this is what we call upwards delivery. This is what we call upward delivery. Or it is also called downward displacement of air. It is also called downward displacement of air. So now this type of correction, it is used to correct gases that are less denser than air. E.g. hydrogen and ammonia. Question 17. Why is hydrogen referred to as a clean fuel? Because option A, burns in oxygen to give more energy. Option B, does not pollute the environment. Option C, has no impurities. Option D, is not a harmful gas. So the answer is B, it does not pollute the environment. Question 18. The chemical compound which can best be used to make hand sanitizer is, so we've been given the options, option A, B, C, and D. So the compound that can be used, it is ethanol. Why ethanol? So why ethanol? So you need to understand that ethanol, it is the major compound of methylated spirit. When we are making hand sanitizer, we use methylated spirit. So now ethanol, it's a major compound of methylated spirit. So that is the reason why it is the answer here. Question 19. Large petroleum molecules undergo cracking to produce smaller molecules which are more useful. What could be product X when the carbons 20, hydrogen 42 is cracked according to the following reaction? So remember the definition of cracking. So cracking, it is a breaking down of large hydrocarbon compound into smaller useful molecules. So in this case, the question is what could be the product X? So in this case, this one, it is cracked to these two. So 20 minus 4, it is 16. 42 minus 10, it is 32. So since it is balanced here with a 2, so we are going to divide with a 2. 2 there, it is 8. 2 there, It is 16. So the answer is C. So we can even rewrite. So now this is a balanced chemical equation. So 2 times 8, 16. 16 plus 4, 20. 2 times 16, 32. 32 plus 10, 42. So it is balanced. Question 20. They always say that whatever goes up must surely come down. So this is the last question on section A. So please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Mr. Rafa Online Tuitions, and click on the notification button so that whenever I upload the video of this nature, you'll be able to learn and watch. So my names are Angel Chanda. If you want online tuitions, you can WhatsApp me and I can help you to achieve your dreams. Question 20. The diagram shows part of a polymer. So what is a polymer? What is a polymer? So a polymer, it is a compound consisting of large molecules that are made up of a linked series of repeated, mark the word repeated, simple monomers. So before we go further, let us also understand what is a monomer. So a monomer, it is a molecule that forms the basic unity for polymer. Or I can say a monomer is one small molecule. It's one small molecule that joins with other like, mark the word like, it to form a polymer. So that is what we call a monomer. So now the question is, which of the following monomers would be used to form the polymer shown? So this is the polymer. So from here, how can we choose a monomer? We can choose a monomer by looking at in a polymer where it is repeating itself. So in this case, we start here, 2 hydrogen atoms, chlorine, hydrogen, 2 hydrogen atoms, chlorine, hydrogen, 2 hydrogen atoms, chlorine, hydrogen. So this is a repeating unit. And this is also a repeating unit. So these monomers, they are joined together to form a polymer. So now, remember that the unsaturated hydrocarbons, they are the ones that undergoes polymerization. In other words, those that have got a double bond or a triple bond. So in this case, let us compare hydrogen, hydrogen, chlorine, hydrogen, 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 chlorine, hydrogen with a double bond. So this is the answer. So when you look at option B, so option B, it has 2 chlorine. So that is not the answer. It is different from the polymer. So here we have a single bond. Should you choose option C, then you get it wrong because it's a single bond there. Then we have D, it has a double bond, yes, but it has 2 chlorine atoms. Thank you very much.